Good afternoon and welcome to the show. This is the Mary Grace Show. I'm Mary Grace, and we have with us today one of our favorite guests and just a great American patriot, General Michael Flynn. You were here a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about North Carolina. You called in, and that is still a rapidly unfolding situation. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to start with that and just get an update. I know that you have been working with specific groups down there, and I do have one question about that, um, a very specific question. So can you just give us a sit rep, and then I'll ask you the next question about that?
Sure. So,
And welcome.
yeah, thanks. I left North Carolina last Friday. A place called Avery County Airfield is where we were based out of. Myself, I went up there by myself, and then I met Boone Cutler and Chad Caton, who came and linked up with me during the day two. But I stayed up there for the better part of 3 days. I traveled all around the area, the region there. It's about 25 counties. I probably covered only about 10 of the counties, and
Okay.
really the ones that were most affected. And we drove or we walked some. I also did 3 helicopter reconnaissance trips that gave me a bird's eye view of some of the really hard hit places. We did a walkthrough of a place called Swan, and there's another area towards what's called Black Mountain Children's Camp that was devastated. So about 25 counties were damaged or destroyed, which is about 25% of North Carolina. There's 100 counties in North Carolina, so it's a big area. I think that the scale of lives lost or still missing is going to exceed 9/11. I mean, I've seen one list that had over 4,000 people that were missing or potentially dead. And so, the president of the United States of America, Biden, and the vice president of the United States of America, Harris, neither of them have been up to this region at all. They've not visited. It is the recovery of this area is going to require basically the nation's capabilities, even the state of North Carolina. And I'm not a big fan of the governor. In fact, I don't even think the governor. I left last Friday, and that was probably 3 weeks into it. The governor had not visited Avery County Airfield, which is one of the hardest hit areas. It's a tri-county area. The governor had not, visited that area. There were some other local politicians, and I, in my trips around there, I bumped into one person from FEMA. I bumped into 3 soldiers from the Army. They're there and that, doing their job, the soldiers, but they were leaving the very next day. So they had already been on the ground, like, I think more than probably the better part of 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And they were leaving. They were going back home to their bases. So this, to give people a comparison, like Katrina, which was really devastating and from a political perspective, hit the Bush administration really hard. The Bush administration deployed 75,000 troops in 4 days, the first 4 days, into New Orleans. I mean, we're lucky to have maybe 2,000 up in the mountains of North Carolina, and it's a much more difficult terrain. It's much more devastated. One area that I was literally in physically, and we walked the train a bit, walked the road, and we walked down in the side of where the river was. That had about an 80-foot wall of water, so it's like a giant tidal wave coming out of the mountains with North Carolina pine trees acting like missiles inside the water, rushing down at people's homes. And most of the homes on both banks were completely gone. I mean, they weren't even like, some you could see in some state of damage. Others were just gone. There's no idea where they went. They went down the river.
Mm-hmm. So like canyons, like a canyon kind of effect.
Yeah,
right?
there's a big. That's toward the Swan and Lake Lure. They call it Lake Lure. So there's a lot of stuff in Lake Lure that wasn't there, 3 weeks ago. People need to. We can't forget about the people up there. They still need volunteers. They need lots of volunteers. So if people want to help, I think the last time I was talking about the Citizens Defending Freedom, they're still citizensdefendingfreedom.com. But the new one that was set up by this couple that's running the airfield who volunteered is wethepeoplemission.com. wethepeoplemission.com, and that's Dan and Paula Nunez, and that's essentially a fundraising site to help them offset the costs that they are finding with trying to take care of the people that they have volunteering.
Okay.
I mean, this is Danny. He goes by Danny. He's a retired military guy, and he, that's what he did. And his wife was a stay-at-home mom and did some tech work from their home.
Wow.
These are not wealthy people by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And their home was also damaged. They had a tree land on it, but theirs wasn't as damaged as the rest of their little holler up there.
Yeah.
So anyway.
This is, you mentioned last time we talked that that under Katrina, the government deployed 75,000 troops. I wasn't quite sure how many. Now that you've been boots on the ground, you're saying that it's not even 10% of that based on what
definitely
you've
not.
seen.
It's probably less. It's less than 5% of that.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they're up. I don't think they're up there anymore. I mean, there's some things going on. Ann Vanderstill's doing some reporting about some camps being built and all that. But I got to go back up there. I am going to travel back up.
Okay.
Mary.
Okay. Good. And you're welcome anytime if you want to do some reporting from the ground. As you know, you're always welcome on the show. We can queue up a live stream very quickly and get you on air. I do have a question. Something has been brought to my attention. Apparently, the Red Cross has pulled out. Temporary shelters are no longer in place. The temporary Red Cross shelters are no longer in place. This is, as far as I know, I don't have receipts for this, and so I'm treating it as hearsay, but I want to get confirmation. I actually did reach out to your sister Mary about this because I'm hearing reports that the North Carolina version of CPS, Child Protective Services, I think it's called I can't remember the acronym, but they are in some cases approaching parents and telling them that it's likely that the children will be removed from the home because the parents are unable to provide adequate shelter. Now, I did see one report from the Aerial Recovery Group. They said that is in fact the law, but they're not sure how much of it is fact and how much of it is just
I mean, I've heard some of those reports, Mary Grace. I've heard some of them. I think I saw a video. I gotta get back up there to really confirm a lot of this. But the idea that they cannot provide shelter for their children, so the North Carolina version of Child Protective Services coming in and taking children out of their environment, and that's the worst thing that could possibly happen right now.
Right.
And the reason why there's no shelters is because of the storm, and the state has not responded properly. The federal government has not responded properly. I told the folks that were this couple, Danny and Paula Nunez, I told them that as the winter sets in here, and it's going to set in up there pretty quick, like probably in the next couple of weeks. It was at nighttime, it was already below freezing cold temperatures when I was there, and that was last week. So 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, you're going to start to see.
Yeah, there's a big ski industry up there. Yeah.
Right, and you're going to start to see snow in the mountains, and the temperatures are going to drop well below 30. So people are going to end up looking for those places where they can get shelter. Some are helping each other out in the different hollers, they call them, or the different enclaves around the county area. Families are helping families, but the federal government should immediately step in and offer to, and in fact should be building shelters. They ought to be building shelters on these little airfields, like this Avery County airfield.
Okay.
I mean, it's got a beautiful flat site. And you got an airfield there. You got a place for helicopters to come in. You got a good truck route that comes in there. One of the other things that I forgot to mention is the railroad. So there's a railroad that brings in a lot of commercial, industrial goods like food and building supplies and all the things that you can imagine with that rail brings. And rail's the number one means of trade in our country still. And they have about 10 miles of what was a good rail line out. Most of it's broken in half, twisted around trees or in the river. So that's another communications path where you could bring in relief supplies, and it doesn't exist right now.
Okay, yeah, I saw an image of an entire rail bed upended. It looks like a fence. So all the railroad
Yeah.
ties are
Yeah,
vertical.
I took video coverage myself. I have
Okay,
some video of
okay.
it, and I have a video of
I'll
it in the river. It's an
Yeah,
amazing.
it's crazy, the
Yeah.
power of the water. So, we will continue to follow this. I am seeing so many reports, and of course, in a competent and caring administration, this situation would have been handled and squared away, and that's not the case. General, you've been in disaster areas around the world. In your estimation, what is the what on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being just off the charts, devastating. How does this compare with what
Yeah,
you've
this is a
seen?
10. So this is a
Okay,
10. This is a 10. In the 25 county area, it's probably about a 6 or a 7. But
okay.
in specific counties and in specific towns, and these
Mhm.
aren't towns with like 10 mountain people, right? I mean, I hate that when people go, oh, they're mountain people, they're strong. These are human beings.
Yeah,
So this isn't like, small towns. The Tri-County area that I was operating in primarily has over 300,000 people. It really, I mean, it got
yeah.
that's 3 counties bigger than the state of Rhode Island. And
Mm,
that area is a 10. There are towns that are even above a 10. I mean, there are whole towns. I mean, they're totally devastated. And a lot of the attraction up there is, people do live up there, but there's a lot of tourism, a lot of camping,
yes.
a lot of hunting, a lot of skiing. There's a
Yep,
lot of VRBOs. There's a lot of
yep.
campgrounds. There's mobile home parks up there. Most of them are completely destroyed.
And when you see reports of, uh, Boone is open, downtown Boone is open, Asheville is open, that can lead people to have a false sense of, assurance that everything's okay. And what
Yeah.
you're saying is based
It's
on.
kind of what I'm saying, Mary Grace. It's like the
Yeah.
movie Jaws, right? The movie Jaws, right? You still got
Okay.
the shark in the water, and the mayor comes out and goes,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're open for the summer. We're open for business," right? But
Okay.
but Jaws is still out there lurking around. So
Yeah.
so the metaphor here is that Jaws is the destruction of a massive Hurricane Helene,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's still it is still lurking and will lurk for through the wintertime and for a long, long time. There are
Yeah.
there are towns that were
Yeah.
destroyed that will never be recovered. Never. And I don't use that word lightly. The geography, there are pieces of geography, whole sides of mountains that came down that will, the geography was changed by this
Mhm.
storm.
Mhm. Now
So
yeah. Wow, do you think,
so if
you
they open up
mentioned.
Asheville, if they open up Boone,
Okay.
it's because they want to try. And I don't disagree with some of that, Mary Grace, because you want to give
Right.
people a sense of normalcy, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
other things that are not normal anymore, and people are going to have to struggle through the
Mhm.
wintertime. And that's where I think the federal government has a
Okay.
responsibility to provide these people with the resources
Mhm.
that I know the federal government has.
Now you said recently on a different podcast that our government is actually involved in trafficking children. I believe that was something that you talked about, CPS, right? And with this
Yeah.
news coming out about what may be happening in North Carolina, we don't have a confirmation on that, but in your experience. Oh, we just lost him. That was interesting. We just lost the feed. Well, here he comes. That's interesting, we lost the feed when we use that little third rail
I know. I
terminology.
know. Isn't that something?
But just based on your experience and, what we know from the
Well,
work
here's
through your
here's the issue.
foundation.
So we have a
Yeah,
member
what do
of our
we.
team. We have a member of America's Future team, which is our principal
Yes,
project is Project Defend and Protect Children,
yes.
and to help in the recovery of children that are involved in child trafficking and child slavery and child sex trafficking, to be specific. It's sickening. Um, and we knew at one time through the person that's on our team, Tara Rodas, who's great. She's a whistleblower.
Yes.
She had identified around 90,000 children that were missing.
Yeah,
Well, now that
yeah.
number is upwards of over 300,000 missing children that came into the Child Protective responsibility, and now they're missing. And initially, a year ago, it was 90,000. Now it's over 300. So it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. And so when we say our government, I wouldn't. That's kind of that's too nebulous. There are people
Kind of
in our
big.
government.
Yeah.
There are people in our
Yeah.
government that are absolutely involved in this stuff because it's very
Okay.
profitable. And sadly,
Yes.
and it's, you can look at it different ways. Little boys are actually more profitable than little girls. It's just so you have these people out there that want babies, 2 5-year-old babies. Find a young teenager, which is still disgusting, that are willing to pay for this stuff, and it's a very profitable. And sadly, it goes all the way up to the top. Okay, it's not just the illegals and some thug on the streets of Houston, which is one of the more. Houston, I think, is the #1 for child trafficking in the country. It's people that are in government. We just found out about a former mayor of College Park, Maryland, as an example. They just found, somebody reported him, and they just found, like, I think it was 25 or 45,000, pictures of children on his computer, and that begins the investigation. But these are sick people.
Yeah, it really is. And so it's very interesting because your feed is compromised now that we're talking about this, but it's not surprising, right? We know how these people operate. But let's go to another controversial topic, and let's talk about the election.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, first of all, how do you think this tragedy in North Carolina will affect the election turnout, but on a bigger scale? What do you see happening over the next several days as we go into what I believe is the most consequential election in our lifetimes in modern
So
history?
specifically in North Carolina, one of the things that they're looking at is allowing people to vote. If the adjacent county or over has a voting process in place, if people can make it there, which is tough. It's like me going down to, Lee. I'm in Sarasota County. It's like I got to go drive to Lee County, but it's not as easy for these people because you're talking about going through mountains, and the distance between one county to another
Yes.
could be a couple of hours, especially with the way the roads are. So in North Carolina, looking at basically, because it's a Republican state legislature proposal, to just let's give Donald Trump the electoral votes from North Carolina directly to Donald Trump, because we're a Republican legislature, and that's how it used to be. That's how it used to work. Well over back in the 18th century, right? So not 19th century.
Wow.
So
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, Ivan Raiklin's been talking about that, right?
yeah. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but I
Yeah.
think overall
Okay.
between now and the election, I think we're going to see the rhetoric going to go through the roof, as it always has. I think we're always going to see surprises. I mean, I think we're not done with surprises. I
Yeah.
think more surprises are coming.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know what they are. I do think people need to pay attention to the BRICS, the global economic situation, because they finish up today, and there's going to be some big decisions coming out of there. And I do think that attention to the reporting that is coming in via the internet or via social media, that is factual. It's like we don't want to just jump at some conclusion when somebody says, "Hey, there's 200,000 ballots that were stolen," or whatever. Some numbers.
Oh, okay.
Take a deep breath and
Yeah.
and
I
make
was
sure
gonna
that the
say.
information that we report is correct, is accurate.
Right, right, and I'll be streaming on election night, and
Yep.
we're gonna have you call in for that. You're gonna
Yep.
be down in Florida and, in Naples, Florida. Uh, you called this the, podcast presidency, and I
Right.
think, that's what we're gonna see. The digital army is on the front lines now, bringing the
Exactly.
truth, and so I do wanna caution
I
everybody,
want
just
I
like you
want
said.
people to understand. I want people to understand
Yeah,
that don't assume that Donald Trump is going to win this thing. Okay. And
right.
what that means is you got to get out and vote. Like, don't think that because polls show him up,
Mhm.
or
Right,
or look,
right.
it looks like, oh, he's got 100,000 people, so I don't need to go vote. No,
Right.
People need to go vote, and they need to take 5 or 10 of their friends with them and vote.
Vote, yeah, like your life depends on it.
Right.
Black Swan event, you've used that term on our show. You came on the show after the bridge collapse up in, Baltimore, Maryland.
Right.
You called that a black swan event. Arguably, I think that what happened in North Carolina is definitely a black swan event. Do you foresee something like that happening between now and Inauguration Day, or now and the vote certification day? What are your sources or spidey
Yeah, I
senses
mean, I don't have
telling
any
you about
sources
that?
on it. I mean, a black swan event is something that is unknowable, right? It's even unimaginable, and it just happens, right? I mean, you're not prepared for it.
Yeah,
You don't think
yeah,
about it, and so you don't have a counter to it, right?
okay,
So I don't know. I don't know. We have a couple of days left in a wake up call. I've already voted. Or I early
yeah,
voted in
me
Florida
too.
because I'm going to be traveling on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Um, I think people, again, just get out and vote. Whatever
okay,
happens is going to happen. It's kind of in
okay,
God's hands right now. But you can still go reach out to a neighbor or a couple of neighbors and go, hey, I'm going to go vote today. You want to go vote with me?
sure,
Drag
yeah,
people
yeah.
along.
I
We,
think
we,
the early
we
voting
have to
ends.
have over 70%. We've got to have over 70%
Okay,
turnout. Have to have, if we don't have over 70% turnout, I'd love to think we're going to have 80, 85, 90% turnout. But if we don't, but that's not the averages. The last 8 presidential elections, the average turnout has been 65%. We got to have it. People got
okay.
to get out and vote.
Okay, and bring your friends, and it's not over till it's over. So please
Yeah.
do, and I think the last day for early voting in a lot of states is tomorrow. I know it is in Virginia and North Carolina. Anywhere that you are, I wanna say, make sure you video if something is amiss in your
Yeah.
polling place. There was a situation in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where they were closing the early voting lines early, and the Republicans up there were able to file a lawsuit to get
Yep.
that opened,
Yeah.
and because somebody filmed it. So please don't be afraid to do that. Don't
Yeah.
be shy, right? We're the deplorable, garbage people. So it doesn't matter now what we do. Like, they hate us no matter what. So
No
don't be
matter what,
afraid.
they don't. These people don't. They hate us. So anyway,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
Mary
Okay.
Grace.
Thank you
I
for
gotta
being
split because I
here.
gotta prep.
All right, awesome. Great to see you. Thank you, General Flynn. Everybody, please follow him at Gen Flynn on
Yep.
X. Take
Please,
care. Thank
please.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, that was awesome. I'm going to stick around here for just a second and just remind you of what we have coming up. All you garbage people. That was General Michael Flynn. I'm Mary Grace. This is the Mary Grace Show. I have a couple of things coming up over the next few days, and I wanted to remind you of that tomorrow morning at 10:30, right here on all of the channels that you're watching on. We have a live Q&A with our friend Dr. Troy Sproul from Synapse Center for Health and Healing, and that is I'm gonna put the link up here. You can actually get a free discovery call with them as we're talking about making America healthier. This is so important to be proactive, and I encourage you to go there, to go to officialsynapse.com and set up a free discovery call just to see how you can get dialed in with your health. If you have a certain condition, if you have family history, things that you're worried about, whatever it is, just call them, talk to them, get on their website and put in and sign up for the discovery call. Let them know that Mary Grace sent you. He's going to be on the show tomorrow, Dr. Sproul. He's one of our favorites. If you have questions, get ready to post your questions in the live stream. It's going to be at 10:30 Eastern. And then we have one of our other favorite people coming on Sunday at 1:30 Eastern. And I'm going to put one of his books up here just so that you can get a hint of who's coming on the show. That's one of them. And so we are very, very excited about that. And that'll be at 1:30 Eastern. We will be streaming on election evening, on the evening of the election. I'm not sure yet what time we're starting, but we will have several guests coming on the show. General Flynn said that he's going to pop in from the watch party where he is. We have another guest who will be at President Trump's watch party in Florida. And so it's going to be a great evening. We're going to keep track of everything for you, and that's going to be right here. The easiest way to find everything is going to be to go to marygracemedia.com, and you can click on any one of my channels from that website. If you're not already on the mailing list at marygracemedia.com, just go to that website, go down to the bottom and sign up for the email list, and you'll get notified when we go live. That would be a great thing to do. And you can also go to that website and find all of my affiliate partners. It's so important that you go and check out these America First businesses that help us get the show out. Every time you buy from one of those partners, we get a commission, and it helps us keep the internet on, keep the equipment up to date, travel, do the things that are important to getting the truth out to you, okay? And I wanna say one last thing before we sign off here, and that is that as we go into the next several days, weeks, even months, uh, be very careful about, uh, the sensational type of stories that you might see coming out. There are people who sometimes post stories that are meant to get you upset and agitated and fearful, that prey on your fears, and it's very easy, and I've done it before. It's very tempting and very easy to just click something and share it without verifying, without seeing evidence, without seeing the receipts on those things. And for example, when people are telling you so and so agency is doing this thing or this happened at a polling place, the best way to verify that is if somebody has a videotape of the interaction, if somebody has a document, an official document showing what's actually going on. But I want to caution you about getting sucked into what I call it's just a panic type of thing where people capitalize on emotion, and everybody's clicking and sharing and getting outraged, and it may not actually be true. I'm not saying that it's always untrue. I'm saying that it's very easy to get caught up in emotion, and I want to caution you about that. As our friend Wade Cutler, Boone Cutler says, he says, protect your mind, control your emotions. And that is super important as we go into this weekend, the next several days, as we watch what's unfolding in North Carolina. It is a tragedy. It's already enough of a tragedy without borrowing outrage, if that makes sense. And I like believe me, it's very easy to go down lots of lots of trails that will prey on your emotions, all right? And when I was for example, with the issue that may be happening in North Carolina regarding the children, I don't have any verified stories of that yet. I've seen videos of people talking about it, but I haven't seen videos of encounters with officials. I haven't seen any court filings, any court orders, or anything like that. Is there a law that says that children have to be adequately clothed and sheltered and fed? Yes, there is. But does that mean it's being enforced right now on these families who literally have no shelter? I don't know. And I want much more information before I go into a story like that. That's why I'm asking General Flynn. That's why I'm reaching out to his sister who heads up his foundation, which is focused on exposing these types of things and preventing them and helping victims and families who are targeted by these situations. So that's how I roll, and people might get mad at me sometimes when you tag me and I'm not automatically believing everything that is shared. That's why, because we have to be credible. We have to go with credible sources. We have to have receipts on these things. before we run with a story. And it's important because, people could actually be hurt inadvertently when somebody runs with an outrage story that may or may not be based in fact, okay? I hope that helps. Uh, Let me see if there's any comments here. Yeah, it's just important. No matter what the story is, control your emotions. Control your emotions. There's people out there that appear to be, fighting on the same side that actually are capitalizing on on the emotional appeal of stories. So I think that's it for now. Um, And I just wanna check the Rumble chat. If you're on any of my channels right now, please do me a favor and, hit the thumbs up. If you're on Rumble, go underneath the video itself and hit the thumb. It's green, hit the thumbs up, and also share on all of the channels that you are on. Please share the link. Please tag people that you know, and then also have, uh give comments. Give us comments when you're coming on the replay or when you're in the live. Either one, all of that helps because when you do that, it pushes it up in the feed. All right. So I'm going to review here. We've got a show tomorrow at 10:30. We have a show on Sunday at 1:30, and then we are starting the election night live stream as soon as I can get on. As you know, we've got my dad home. He came home from the hospital last week or from rehab since he had a stroke. And there's more caregiving responsibilities here, and I'm working every day on getting that all dialed in. So we will start the live as soon as we can on election night. I'm thinking I want to start when we see kind of what time results start coming in, right? And if it's Arizona, of course, they're gonna come in the minute the polls close because that's what they did last time. They called it for, Biden. That was Brett Baer, if you remember, but we'll come back to that. All right, people who are asking questions about different things, if you missed it, go back and watch the replay. And thank you to all of you who are praying for me, for General Flynn, for obviously for President Trump. There are so many people on the front lines of this who are dealing with so many things. And the podcasters like me, most of us are working from a home studio. We're juggling family, and we're sort of a one person shop in some cases, and that makes a difference because unlike the networks who just show up and pick up a microphone and read off a teleprompter, uh, we're pulling all the gears and levers in the background. So please pray. Pray over the technology, pray over the time, pray over the energy levels. All of those things really matter and it makes a difference. Your prayers really do make a difference and I truly appreciate it. It makes a big difference. So that's it. I'm going to play us out with a couple of commercials from our favorite sponsors, from our favorite affiliate partners. We've got our friends over at Grid Down Chowdown. They have American grown freeze dried beef. It's fantastic. It's not jerky, it's actually beef. And so when you open the package, you get ground beef that is it's just freeze dried and you put it in water and it's raw, and then you can do anything. You can make tacos, you can make hamburgers, you can make spaghetti, you can make meatloaf, whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you do with a package of ground beef, of regular ground beef, you can do the same thing with this, but it hardly weighs anything and you can keep it in your cabinet. You don't have to have electricity to keep this fresh and it lasts 15 to 25 years. That's griddownchowdown.com. I will play that ad for you. And then, of course, we want you to go and book a consultation with our friends over at officialsynapse.com. They are helping so many people reclaim their health and get their health dialed in from a proactive standpoint. This is what they do. They're a functional medicine clinic and they're looking at the big picture. They're looking at root causes of what is going on with you. And we're going to have Dr. Sproul on tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern right here on all of my channels. And so here we go. We're going to play these commercials and then we will see you all back here tomorrow. Thanks again to everybody for all of your interaction, live chat, sharing, all that you do to make this channel so good and so effective.
This is my brother. And I'm Nace, and we're at the Grid Down Chowdown. And this is Larry, who is a local rancher that we've partnered with. Now, Larry, you've been ranching for over 4 generations, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 3rd generation, my son's 4th generation, and I've got some grandkids that are 5th generation.
Man, that's awesome.
We've been here for quite a while, yeah.
All right, now, Larry, your cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised, just like God intended them to be.
Yes, because I want to know what's in that animal.
Right.
What it's been fed. And so the only way to do that is for us to keep it all natural, just like God has done it for years and years and years, thousands of years.
How has partnering up with us helped you and your ranch?
Well, it's allowed us to develop a market that we didn't have before, one that can get directly to the consumer, and that's great.
And just remember, more importantly, with every package that you buy, we put a salvation track in there. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for allowing us to do what we believe that God has us here to do. And just remember, God loves you. He really does.
Amen.
Go to griddownchowdown.com. More now than ever on healthcare, and we're sicker than almost anybody in the world. We've put our trust in a system that's completely let us down. Dr. Troy Sproul and the team at Synapse Center for Health and Healing have changed all that. They are a functional medicine clinic, and they get to the root cause of what's made you sick in the first place. Once they do that, they give you solutions to help you get out of that. This is the way that medicine was meant to be practiced, and this is what they're doing. They're changing the entire system from the inside out, one person at a time, and you could be one of those people. And so when you're working with the team at Synapse, they're giving you solutions and not just prescriptions. That's a game changer for me. When you set up a free discovery call with Synapse, you're starting on a journey of healing. You're starting on a journey of getting answers. And that's why I've partnered with them, because I want you to be healthy. I want your family to be healthy. I want you to have all of the resources that you need to steward the body and the health that God's given you. Go to officialsynapse.com and tell them Mary Grace sent you. That's Official Synapse, SYNAPSE.com.